Hi guys, my name is Mohammad Javid. Performance is my passion, and today on The Young Driver, I'll be explaining that one time I drove a Ferrari. This was about 2 weeks ago now, but I'll be explaining some of the highlights and what makes it cooler than driving any typical car on the road. Now, the first reason that I think it's very interesting is just the physical sound of the car. I mean, if you want to compare it to something else, the closest thing that sounds anything similar in terms of noise is maybe like Chewbacca from Star Wars. There's nothing on the road that sounds like this vehicle. And also the fact that it's a Spider and the roof was down the day that I happened to be driving it made it 10 times better, since there's no sound deadening or anything like that, which amplified the noise even more. Now, the second thing that made it really, really cool was the fact that there was very little room for error. When you drive a typical car, you might feel that the steering wheel's a little loose, that the electronic gas pedal's not really calibrated all that well, but with this car, there was none of that. It wouldn't creep on red lights. It wouldn't move back when it was in reverse. You would actually have to press the pedal to get any kind of movement from the vehicle. And it makes way more sense when you think about it. You could get cars more powerful than this for less than a third of the price. But it's not going to be as direct. That's why you see a lot of Mustang drivers always hitting the crowds on the side, because it has a lot of power, but then it has a large room for error. But these cars are hand-built, and everything is checked over several times in the process. So it's a very tight car, as to say, and there's virtually no error at all when it was made, which makes it very, very cool to drive. Another interesting aspect of the vehicle was, and I don't know if I would say it's part of the vehicle, but it made it interesting. It had the police radar detectors, and these aren't strictly legal in most states. They're actually kind of illegal, but it's very tempting when you're driving a car like this. Obviously, obey the law. I don't want to offend any of my cop fans out there watching this. I don't want to offend any of them by telling you to break the rule. Obviously, don't. But it is. You could see why it's very tempting to have one of these systems so you could drive it at high speeds. Now, obviously, with that said, do drive carefully. Never put anyone or yourself in danger. But the system was really spot on. I mean, you could buy them for as cheap as $400. This one's probably one of the more high-end ones, because they're not going to just throw a cheap system in there. It's like eating a really expensive steak with barbecue sauce from Walmart. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't ruin the flavor of that steak with barbecue sauce from Walmart. You put the expensive one on top of it, and that's what this car had. But I encountered about 3 cops that day, if you include the one that was behind me, 2 or 3 cars behind me trying to trap me. And what they usually do is, like, they would turn it on and then off and then on and off, just in case. So as soon as the noise goes off, you assume, oh, he must be bored, or he's not checking it anymore. And then you hit the gas, and then there you go. He hits it again. There's a ticket. But yeah, it was very cool, but I didn't get to drive at any excessive speeds that day, which was a bit disappointing, but it was still very cool. Another interesting aspect of the car was how everything was driver focused. It was to the extent that the passenger gets an air vent or 2, and that's about it. They don't really have any access to the radio buttons or none of that. But the driver has everything. I mean, 90% of the buttons are on the steering wheel itself. You'd have the turn signals, which are kind of like a video game button, which was really cool. You wouldn't have to move your hands at all. It was very interesting. The paddles themselves were really nice too, but everything was just centered towards the driver. If you're a passenger in the vehicle, you can't really see much or do much other than just maybe listen to the cool soundtrack that I told you about. But it was very interesting, having said that. With all that said, it is a very interesting experience. as I said, you could get cars with more power than this, but none of them are going to be as interesting as this one, I think, under this price point at least, because none of them are built to the same standards. This is, as I said, there was no error when this car was made, and I'm assuming it's the same deal with pretty much every other Ferrari 458 out to there. So it does make it a very unique experience that not everybody gets to experience every single day. Therefore, I thought, hey, maybe I should make a video and tell you guys what it felt like to drive that vehicle. But with all that said, I'd like to say, if you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. In the comments, if you feel like it, tell me a story about a time when you drove a really interesting or weird car. If you enjoyed the video and you think your friends would like it, go ahead and share it for them. There's a little button down there for that if you didn't know. But with all that said, my name is Mohammad Javid, performance is my passion, and I'll see you all next time on The Young Driver.